Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Young Thug. Now it looks like Young Thug's attorney is on the ball. He done filed an emergency motion. He does not like how Young Thug is being treated in this RICO case, and definitely not how he's being treated by the Fulton County jail system, because he feels like Young Thug is staying in what he describes as a dungeon, man. And when you hear the story, you're going to kind of side with Young Thug just a little bit, man. You're going to feel sorry for him a little bit. Not to say you should feel sorry for a grown man, you know what I mean? Whatever he did, he got in this situation, and it is what it is. But we do have a system of innocent until proven guilty. And for somebody to be staying in a place that looks or resembles a dungeon where they really can't turn off the light, they really ain't got any contact with any other human being, like they're in solitary confinement, without even having a chance to be on GP or on the general population, man, it seems a little out of hand and maybe overboard. But you have to factor in a lot of other things involved in the case. Now, I'm going to be referencing this story from the Rolling Stone. And before we get to this story, though, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And man, let's get it. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this Young Thug story, man. Now, I'm going to be referencing this story from the Rolling Stone. In the headline, it says this. It says, Young Thug lawyers blast his dungeon-like jail conditions in emergency filing. So basically, they're saying he has jail conditions that's like a dungeon, man. Now, in today's society, we have rules set in order for people to, to get a fair stay even when they're in jail. At least some decent treatment. You get treated like a human being. So it looks like based on the way that he's living up in there, his lawyer said, oh no, we're about to make an emergency filing and we need to try to get him up out of here on some bond. Now, Young Thug probably has a nice bit of money to where he can pay some really good lawyers. So we'll see how this works out. Now, the story starts off by saying this. It says Young Thug is being held in dungeon-like conditions, and they said that in quotes, and deserves release on bond or more humane treatment while fighting his unconscionable and unconstitutional RICO indictment, the Atlanta rapper's lawyer says. Now, there's been several lawyers who comment on these RICO cases and stuff, and usually you don't hear them all say that, this might be going a little overboard with this case, and I've heard that several times, especially when you take Gunna and his charges into account. And he's facing some very serious charges as well in this RICO indictment, man. But it seems like this DA in Atlanta, she is not playing, and she's setting the precedence that, if you are using your celebrity in any sort of way, or if she feels like you're using your influence in any sort of way to help out a criminal organization, allegedly, she's gonna, bring down that RICO indictment. And it's said that this office has done 3 RICO indictments so far, man, within the last 2 years. And that's to include Hood Rich Pablo Juan, then you had YFN Lucci, and now you have Young Thug and Gunna, aka YSL. You know what I mean? Now the story continues by saying this. It says, in a new emergency motion filed Friday and obtained by Rolling Stone, lawyer Brian Steele says his client has been placed in quotes, solitary confinement in a Georgia jail, regulated to a windowless cement compartment with only a bed and a toilet and an overhead light which remains on 24 hours per day. Now that's a little serious, man. Like a cement room. I mean, it sounds like jail, but an overhead light that stays on 24 hours a day. Yeah, man, that might get on your nerves. So it seems like his lawyer is even perturbed. He's a little upset about this. Now it continues by saying, he says the musician born Jeffrey Williams can't sleep, rest, or meditate due to the disorienting environment and has, in quotes, no opportunity to exercise, shower, or have human contact. Now, I know when he got locked up, he wasn't expecting all that. But based on the fact, and we got to factor this in, there's a lot going on right now. You've got YFN Lucci and his crew is still in there, right? And allegedly, there's some beef between them, right? Then you have him and his people in there, and it's alleged in the indictment that somebody that's in this case that was on the indictment was trying to orchestrate a hit or somebody to knife up YFN Lucci. So they got a lot of moving parts. So maybe they found somewhere they thought would be safe for Young Thug, so that way they can keep him out of any danger, and that way they can keep him out of anybody's, being able to influence anybody in any sort of way. You know what I mean? That's usually a focus of these things as well. Now, in quotes, it says this: Mr. Williams An innocent man who is wholly isolated from the world must obtain immediate relief, still writes in the motion. So in the motion to get him bond, his attorney is putting it out there like, yo, man, he's an innocent man because you're innocent until proven guilty, right? And he's isolated from the world, so he needs to get immediate relief. Now, Young Thug hasn't been locked up recently, I don't think. So, man, he might have a possibility for getting bond. But Wyeth and Lucci, he could not get bond because he was already on bond previously, and they said he was treating his bond conditions, like they didn't want him to. He was doing things he wasn't supposed to. I'll say that. Now, it continues also by saying Williams, 30 years old, was arrested Monday on felony charges alleging violations of Georgia's Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations statute, so RICO. Fulton County prosecutors claim he's a co-founder of a criminal street gang called YSL, Young Slime Life. They allege the group, also known as YSL, conspired to carry out crimes ranging from drug dealing, carjacking, armed robbery to assault with a deadly weapon, and murder. In a controversial move, prosecutors cited lyrics from some of the Grammy-winning rapper's songs in the 56-count indictment that named 28 defendants, including fellow Atlanta rapper Gunna. Now, obviously, Young Thug and Gunna, they're the celebrities. So there's other people in this case. There's a lot of other people. There's 26 other people. But, their name is the one that's driving all the headlines. Now, the story continues by saying, in his Friday motion, Steele blasted the attempt to portray Williams' lyrics as overt evidence he participated in conduct, in quotes, in furtherance of the conspiracy. He says Williams was lawfully exercising his freedom of speech and expression in his profession as a musical artist when he recorded the song. So they're basically saying that using his lyrics against him in this conspiracy case shouldn't fly because he was just using his First Amendment rights. He was using his freedom of speech in order to make songs and create art, man, which is an argument that most people anticipated his legal team would make. Now, also in quotes, it says this: to weaponize these words by charging overt acts to support a supposed conspiracy is unconscionable and unconstitutional pursuant to the First and 14th Amendment rights under the United States Constitution, he writes, and that was his lawyer. A spokesperson for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Rolling Stone on Friday. If convicted of a RICO charge, Williams could face up to 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Gunna's lawyers filed a similar bond motion this week, seeking to spring the Drip Too Hard hitmaker from custody. In quotes, it ends by saying this. It says, "It is intensely problematic that the state relies on song lyrics as a part of its allegations. These lyrics are an artist's creative expression and not a literal recounting of facts and circumstances. Under the state's theory, any artist with a song referencing violence could find herself or himself the victim of a RICO indictment," the motion reads. So they're making some decent arguments, from me not being a legal professional or even being in the legal world. And it's what people expected them to say. Like, yo, I'm writing a song about, doing whatever. Just doesn't mean that, I actually did it. And for that to be the basis for this investigation is a bit of a stretch. Now, what do you guys think about this, man? About Young Thug allegedly being tucked off in like a basement where he's by himself in kind of a, in a situation where he doesn't have any contact with anybody else. He really can't, turn off a light that's up above his head, and he really can't do anything that, like everybody else in the prison. And it's probably due because Wyeth and Lucci and them is up in there too, is what I'm thinking. But what do you guys think about this? You think that Young Thug is getting a raw deal and Gunna is getting a raw deal and their lawyers are right and this motion that they filed in order to get them out on bond should be approved? Or do you feel like, man, this is just a legal situation and we're going to see this thing play out because they're looking at some very, very serious charges? Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.